he immediately got back on the beat.
I am here with the mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. Congratulations. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
You broke a lot of new ground last night. First Muslim mayor of New York, first Democratic Socialist, first mayor to win more than 1 million votes in, 3 decades, youngest mayor in more than a century. So what is the message and the mandate behind that?
The message is about transforming the most expensive city in the United States of America into one that's affordable for each and every New Yorker. And what New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs gave us last night was a mandate to pursue the most ambitious affordability agenda the city has seen since the days of Fiorello LaGuardia. And it's time that we start to deliver it.
Well, let's dig into that, because you're talking about a rent freeze, you're talking about free buses, you're talking about free childcare. Can you do that without raising taxes?
I think you can do that, and I think you have to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make more than $1 million a year, and you do that by raising taxes by them 2%.
Again, always the conciliatory, well, no matter what, raising taxes is bad. Americans can't even conceive of the idea that raising taxes could be good policy. I genuinely think if you went up to most politicians and you said, why don't we just have the taxes be zero? That a lot of them would be flustered for an answer. Not because they wouldn't know that it would be stupid, but because our rhetoric on the subject is so dumb. I mean, we're at that point with the Republican Party. Trump boasted that he would pay for the country's expenses, not with income tax, but with tariffs. He literally has said that.
And then you also increase the corporate tax of New York State to match that of New Jersey. So that takes us from about 7.25 to about 11.5%, which is what we see in New Jersey. These things together raise about $9 billion, which more than pays for our economic agenda and also starts to Trump-proof our city.
But are you worried that could drive a lot of job creators out of New York?
So what I've heard from a number of business leaders is that the affordability crisis is also affecting their ability to attract and retain talent. The city's inability to provide childcare means that businesses often have to provide stipends for that childcare. Right now, the absence of universal childcare means that a family will pay around $22,500 a year, which is more money than many of them would spend if they sent that same kid to college 18 years later. And it is time for city government to actually step up to the responsibility that it has.
Not just the city government. That kind of a tax increase is going to require the state as well, including the governor, Kathy Hochul. Is she on board?
You know, I'm proud to have Governor Kathy Hochul's endorsement and the endorsement of our agenda, specifically universal childcare. And I've said time and again, I think these are the 2 most direct and straightforward ways to raise this revenue. If there are other ways to raise this funds, the most important thing is that we actually fund this agenda.
You said that President Trump was watching you last night. It appears that he was watching you. And it also appears that he and other Republicans are trying to make you the poster boy of the Democratic Party. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the
What a gift to the Democrats.
House, calls you a true extremist and a Marxist.
Undeserved gift.
And he says now every House Democrat incumbent and candidate will co-own Mamdani's disastrous record in the 2026 midterms. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm looking forward to showing the power of an example here in New York City, an example of what it means to not just diagnose the despair in working people's lives as the cost of living crisis, but to deliver on it. And that's the contrast between myself and President Trump. He's someone who ran an entire presidential campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries and is now, as the president, making it harder for Americans to afford those groceries by cutting SNAP benefits.
You worried he's going to crack down on New York City, maybe even do what he's done and tried to do in Portland and other cities?
Tried to do.
You know, I think that his threats are inevitable. I also know that it's time we actually call this for what it is. This has nothing to do with safety. It has to do with intimidation. If it was safety, President Trump would be threatening to deploy the National Guard to the top 10 states of crime, 8 out of which are all Republican-led, but because of that party, he won't actually be doing so.
So you say you won't be intimidated. How do you stand up to it?
I think there's a number of ways. The first thing is you actually utilize the courts. You stop treating things as being law just by virtue of the fact that President Trump is saying them. You can look at the example of California, where you find the Attorney General, the Governor, and the Mayor of LA coming together, filing a lawsuit in opposition to the deployment of the National Guard. A federal judge found in their favor, and the Attorney General estimated that for every dollar they spent, they recovered more than $30,000 in funds that would have otherwise been seized by the federal government.
How about crime? Have you convinced Commissioner Tisch to stay on the police commissioner?
You know, I've made my decision to retain Commissioner Tisch, and I've done so because Eric Adams had stacked the upper echelons of the NYPD with incompetence and corruption. She came in, started to tackle that, deliver accountability, and reduce crime across the 5 boroughs. That is what we would build upon under a Mamdani administration, in addition to creating a Department of Community Safety to tackle the mental health and homelessness crisis head on.
You've made your decision. Has she made hers?
I am looking forward to continue to having conversations with her and to assembling a government of the best and the brightest to deliver on this agenda.
You know, last night you also said you wanted to reach out to New Yorkers who didn't vote for you. Probably highest on that list is Jewish New Yorkers. It looks like there was about
No, A majority of New Yorkers still voted for Mamdani, despite a bipartisan, half-a-year-long campaign to convince them that he would commit jihad against them.
A 30-point gap, according to the exit polls, between you and former Governor Cuomo.
There wasn't a 30-point gap. I thought it was 50-50 with Jewish voters. Am I wrong on that? I thought I don't think there was a 30-point gap.
How do you convince those voters that your vision of New York includes them and your victory is not a threat to them?
You know, I was on the M57 not too long ago, which is the slowest bus in New York City, 4.9 miles an hour. And I was seated next to a woman who introduced herself to me as a speech therapist. And she told me that she was Jewish.
Nah, final count from this morning was something like 60 Cuomo, 30 Mamdani. Can we be real for a second? Insanely embarrassing for the Jewish community. Like, they've been getting led around like dogs, honestly, on this. Oh, your identity means defending Israel. If somebody doesn't like genocide, that means they don't like you. Stake your identity as a marginalized group, as a minority, to the popularity of this dying, failed ethno-state, warmongering pieces of shit. You know, yeah, go for it, man. That's no. Hitch your ride to that. Oh, Mamdani, the good candidate? No. He's like Muslim or a jihadist or whatever. You need to hitch your ride to this rapist, Italian, corrupt, Trump-supporting fuckwit, you know? That's a real Jew would support the evil guy, you know? Like, Jesus. It's very embarrassing for the community. I feel like we're watching the in real time unfolding a multi-years long process to evangelicize the Jewish community, where you turn them into a group of like fastidious, paranoid, conservative voters because you've hitched their identity to a bunch of culture war grievances. Like how every evangelical thinks that Democrats are trying to take Christmas away or whatever, you know? Well, Cuomo's Italian, Thana.
She said that her daughter is a huge fan in phone banks from college and that she wasn't so sure. And I asked her to share, and she shared her thoughts about what it also means to be Jewish in New York City today and the scourge of anti-Semitism that often worries her, that she was trying.
I know it wouldn't be politically good, but I wish somebody would explain out loud what globalized the Intifada means. The Intifada, in the context in which that term is used, is referring to like uprisings or resistance acts from Palestinians, two like distinct waves, but like broadly the act of resistance by Palestinians against Israeli occupation. That resistance took many forms, the vast majority of which was like peaceful protesting, resistance marches, stuff like that. But there were people who committed acts of terror, you know, considering the fact that Israel's literally a genocidal apartheid state occupying an open-air death camp. Now it's a death camp. We can say that now. So it just means resistance. So when you say globalize the Intifada, it literally just means globalize the resistance against apartheid, genocide, and so on. It doesn't mean kill all Jews. It just doesn't. It just factually doesn't. The only reason anyone says that is because they're Islamophobes. That's it. Like, you could, if you want to go down that road, like, wow, you think it's okay to say, fight the power? Well, to the Nazis, the power means Jews, so fight the power is anti-Semitic. It's a meaningless and bad faith attack that only works in the public eye because Intifada is not an English word. It's spooky and Muslim. It's a spooky Muslim word, you know? It's got a little turban on it. That's it. Deeply Islamophobic.
Trying to sell her apartment, a realtor told her to put away, in her words, the Jewish books on her bookshelf. And I told her that this was unacceptable, that we were fighting for a city that didn't just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but celebrated and cherished those same New Yorkers. And I'm looking forward to being the mayor for every single person that calls the city home and showing that my job is not to remake City Hall in my image, but rather in the image of struggling New Yorkers. And that means New Yorkers will find themselves and their struggles in people who have decision-making power across my administration.
You said a lot of that during the campaign, but it didn't seem to work with this group of voters. What more can you do now?
Well, I think there are a lot of voters for whom the trust comes from the actions that you actually take. Many have, have understandably been disappointed by politics and the promises that have been made by many before me. Now, my opportunity is actually to deliver as the next mayor of the city.
I was struck by a tweet that came out last night on X from Bill Ackman, who was one of your biggest opponents in the campaign. Billionaire, spent a lot of money trying to defeat you, but he did congratulate you and say he wants you to call on him to help New York. What are you going to call on him to do?
Well, I appreciated his words, and I think what I find is that there is a needed commitment from leaders of the city to speak and work with anyone who is committed to lowering the cost of living in the city, and that's something that I will fulfill.
Wish you said, I think billionaires have helped enough with New York City. Stay in your lane, Ackman.
Thank you so much.
YouTube TV customers. Thanks, ABC News. Oh, man, he's so good.
Good morning, New York City. Thank you. Last night we made history, and today we begin the work of making a new administration. Welcome to the transition. This is the period over the next few months where we build a city hall that delivers on the promises of our campaign, to make New York City affordable and to make government accountable to the people it serves. As we prepare to govern, we'll start announcing the leaders who will help implement our agenda. People like deputy mayors who oversee entire areas of government, and the commissioners who carry out the critical work of city agencies. These appointments will be driven by excellence, integrity, and a hunger to solve old problems with new solutions. Talking to organizers on the front lines of the fight to improve our city, government veterans with proven track records, policy experts from around the country and the world, and working people who know better than anyone what our neighborhoods deserve. And this will be a period, like the campaign we ran and the city hall to come, defined by transparency. Because New Yorkers deserve a government they can trust. On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this movement. So I hope you'll make a donation at transition2025.com. Now let's get to work.
Yeah, he's starting off really strong. Lena Khan is going to be part of his transition team, which is, I don't know, basically like announcing you're starting a community watch group for your neighborhood to help clean up the neighborhood. And the first person to sign on is Captain America. Pretty insane. He did a full presser on this. I don't know at what point Lena Khan specifically is announced.
Last night, we made history. I'm so proud to be standing here today as the mayor-elect of the greatest city in the world. Over 2 million New Yorkers cast their ballots. Whether they were the more than million who supported this campaign or the others who supported someone else, or whether they felt too disappointed by the political process to
She's on stage with him? Yeah, but that's not an announcement or an intro.
Every day to honor the trust that I now hold. The poetry of campaigning may have come to a close last night at 9, but the beautiful prose of governing has only just begun. The hard work of improving New Yorkers' lives starts now. That process begins with transition. In the coming months, I and my team will build a city hall capable of delivering on the promises of this campaign. We will form an administration that is in equal parts capable and
kind of a Matrix vibe to the stage right now, huh?
And willing to work just as hard as the millions of New Yorkers.
There isn't even a Mamdani emote. Well, you guys need to understand, okay? This is a live stream chat. You need to understand live stream culture. The emote has to do something. It can't just be his face. It has to signify something. Oh, it's the Mamdani's face emote. You use it when Mamdani's on screen. You're a loser. You have no idea what you're doing. It has to signify something.
Call this city home. And central to that effort is a transition team that is defined by the excellence New Yorkers will soon come to expect from government. Our team...
Mamdani smile equals Hope Corps? You have no idea. You genuinely... It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing looking at chat right now. It's embarrassing. What is a live stream? This YouTube video is playing in real time? How do I join this live stream chat? Oh, an emote. Well, what if the emote just made you feel good when you looked at it?
Will be directed by Ilana Leopold, whose roots in this city extend back to her grandmother running the trams on Roosevelt Island. She has extensive experience in city government and has been a key part of our
face hitting the Twin Towers. That'd be a good one. Probably shouldn't do that, though.
And it will be led by our formidable co-chairs. Former Federal Trade Commissioner Chair Lena Khan.
Yo!
Former First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer. United Way President and CEO Grace Bonilla. And former Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Melanie Hartzog. Over the coming days, we'll start announcing the leaders who will implement our agenda. People like deputy mayors, who oversee entire areas of government, and the commissioners, who carry out the critical work of city agencies. Some of these people will have familiar names, others will not. What will unite them will be a commitment to solving old problems with new solutions. We will cast a wide net. We will speak to the organizers on the front lines of the fight to improve our city, government veterans with proven track records, policy experts from around the country and the world, and working people who know better than anyone what their neighborhoods need. Throughout this campaign, I have worked hard to be accessible and transparent with New Yorkers. That same spirit will animate this transition and the city hall we build, because New Yorkers deserve a government that they can trust. And on January 1st, when our city celebrates the inauguration of a new administration, let us also celebrate a new era for our city, one that we all feel invested in and whose success we all work to achieve. Now, it is my pleasure to invite Ilana Leopold to deliver a few words. Thank you.
I can't believe he doesn't sound groggy, man. You know he was up late last night.
My name is Ilana Leopold, and I'm very honored to serve as the Executive Director of Mayor-elect Mamdani's leadership team. I want to thank Zoran for his faith in me, both on the campaign trail and in this next exciting chapter of his movement. As a third-generation New Yorker, raised in Mitchell-on-the housing and educated at CUNY, I bring to this work a deep appreciation for the city's promise and a commitment to expanding it for others. I love this city deeply, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to help shape its future. I'm also expecting a child soon, and so...
Woke. Or wait. Bill Ackman's insanely consolatory tweet, what happened to wanting to leave? This is how all billionaires are. Wealthy people are all massive sycophants who desperately want to suck up to power. Bill Ackman is all, he's the next 9/11, he's 9/12, he's going to do an intifada, he's going to kill all the Jews, he's evil, he's going to bankrupt New York City. And then the nanosecond Zoran wins, he goes, Master, help me, I serve. It's pathetic. None of these people have principles. None of these people believe anything. Bill Ackman could be, he could be a czar. He could be a Red Army general. Bill Ackman could be anyone, anywhere in the world, any position. He has no beliefs. He molds himself perfectly to basically every political figure on the right is like this. I hate these people. I really, truly do.
I want the future that she inherits to be one of possibility and opportunity. And I want my new family, like so many others, to be able to rely on the universal child care that Zoran campaigned on. I know from firsthand experience that no one will fight harder for New Yorkers than Zoran. He has the vision and ambition necessary to drive down the cost of living so that families like mine can afford to live in the city we've built. I cannot wait to help our next mayor build a government for and by all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Matrix.
Good morning. My name is Grace Bonilla, and I am excited to be with all of you today.
No, this is good. Bloomberg, thank you. Bloomberg TV, if you could just cut a little further down.
Story victory and a campaign that captured the imagination of so many and centered the needs of working New Yorkers as a North Star. I'm honored to be part of a transition team and eager to work with you to build an administration that will work tirelessly to ensure working New Yorkers can finally afford to live and raise their families in the city that they love. As a native of Queens and a daughter of Ecuadorian immigrants who has dedicated my career to fighting for vulnerable New Yorkers, this appointment means a lot to me, particularly at a time when our immigrant communities and the people I serve are
Wonder
under
what shoes
attack.
she got on?
As we stand here
White
today,
sneakers.
1.8 million New York City residents are without benefits to feed themselves and their families because of the inactions from the federal government. I am confident that Mayor-elect will always stand by New Yorkers and fight against any federal encroachment and that target the programs our neighbors need to survive. I look forward to helping him to build working to build an effective government that keeps every New Yorker safe, healthy, housed, and builds on the promise of our city and the brilliance of our people. Ahora en español. Ante todo, quiero felicitar al alcalde electo Mamdani por su victoria histórica y por una campaña que cautivó a tantos y que le dio prioridad a las necesidades de los neoyorquinos luchando por sobrevivir en esta ciudad debido a la inacción.
Mamdani on an impressive and amazing campaign and victory last night. In my day job, I lead the New York Foundling, one of the city's largest and oldest social service organizations. I previously served across 2 administrations as the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Deputy Commissioner for the Administration for Children's Services, among other roles. There's one thing I've been reminded of in this work, time and time again. It all comes down to economics, paying your rent, putting food on the table, taking care of your kids. That's what New Yorkers care deep down about, and that's what the mayor-elect has so successfully tapped into. It's my honor to join the mayor-elect and this incredible group of women who epitomize public service to make sure that we bring the very best, brightest, and most principled people to deliver for our fellow New Yorkers on this moment of promise.
By the way, where's Katie Wilson at? Not in New York. I'm afraid that Katie Wilson, talented as she is, did not make the cut for Zohran Mamdani's 2025 mayoral transition team.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all. I want to start off by just congratulating our mayor-elect Mamdani on an incredible victory and a just remarkable campaign this last year. I think what we saw last night was New Yorkers not just electing a new mayor, but clearly rejecting a politics where outsized corporate power and money too often end up dictating our politics, and a clear mandate for change where New Yorkers can get ahead and where all workers and small businesses can thrive, not just get by. I think what we saw through the campaign was an operation that showed extraordinary discipline, rigor, talent, and I know that Zohran has the vision and courage to make sure that we can actually deliver. It's such an honor to get to be part of his transition team, and I'm so excited to work with the co-chairs to make sure that we are building an administration that can hit the ground running on day one and deliver for all New Yorkers. Thank you so much.
This is so big for her. It's big for both of them, actually. Like, for one, Zohran Mamdani is right now the main character of the United States of America. He's taken that mantle from Trump as a mayoral candidate, now mayor-elect, which is just incredible. Lena Khan deserved so much more than she got, man. Lena Khan could have been FTC chair under, like, a communist president. Like, she is, I know within her chest beats the heart of a warrior for the working class. I mean, she did as much as she could under Biden, and Biden was decent on labor, you know, as expected, as you know, as much as you could really expect to get. But Jesus, man.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Torres Springer, and first and foremost, I want to congratulate the mayor-elect on his extraordinary victory last night. And on Bill,
well, I'd say Lena Khan was the best thing about the Biden administration. Yeah, I would agree. 100% I would agree. Yeah. I think it's even hard to argue against, honestly. She's so far and away, like, superior, you know, the quality. Not Merrick Garland. It's a tight race. It's a tight race. Me, when I wake up, do I challenge the oligarchy, break up, you know, bust trusts, you know, empower unions, or do I make it legal to do fascist coups?
Building a campaign for and by the people. I'm so thrilled to join his transition team of extraordinary women, by the way, and help ensure that his administration is ready to govern boldly and effectively on day one.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't like women that much. Let's get back to Mamdani.
I look forward to being the mayor.
Once Mamdani's done saving your country, could you lend him to us in Europe? Dog, he's Muslim. You guys are more Islamophobic than we are. I don't think that's gonna happen.
For every person that calls this city home, that includes the Jewish New Yorkers that voted for our campaign and those that didn't. My responsibility is to all 8.5 million New Yorkers, and we chose this location as a reflection of the borough that I serve and the fact that we are proud to be known as the world's borough. And for far too long, that embrace of so much of what makes New York City special, so much of what makes it the place that we are proud to call it our home, it has been missing in our leaders in this city. And I am excited to be the first immigrant to lead.
Get off the cable, guys. Get off the cable.
And excited more.
It's over. Sabotage.
To deliver on an agenda of affordability alongside these incredible co-chairs.
Jihad against the audio cables.
Right here, sorry. We're going to go to Josie right here. Hey, how are you?
I look at these four incredible co-chairs of our transition team, and what I see are those who have had their careers defined by an excellence that we want to characterize the very city hall that we are looking to build. These will be the leaders of our transition.
Another big and underappreciated part of being a good politician, not a good lawmaker or a good policy wonk, but a good politician, is that you can, if you're popular, you can attract really good talent. It doesn't matter how good the ideas you've got up here in your noggin are. If you're bad at communicating them and you can't build a good mandate, you can't bring with you the people that you need to make those ideas a reality, you know? Mamdani has access not only to his, his own ideas, but the ideas of everyone, all the human capital that he can attract, which is considerable and very high quality.
And also, this transition will expand and extend beyond any one specific set of issue areas. So the topics of education and public safety continue to be of immense importance. We continue to prepare for the delivery on those very issues alongside the others that concern New Yorkers, and that will be the work of the next 57 days. And just to your second question, I am willing to consider anyone to work in my city hall so long as they are committed to working for my administration and to delivering on an agenda to lower costs for New Yorkers in the most expensive city of the United States.
All right, we'll go to Sam over here.
My message to ICE agents and to everyone across this city is that everyone will be held to the same standard of the law. If you violate the law, you must be held accountable. And there is sadly a sense that is growing across this country that certain people are allowed to violate that law, whether they be the president or whether they be the agents themselves. And what New Yorkers are looking for is an era of consistency, an era of clarity, an era of conviction. And that is what we will deliver to them. And
under Mamdani, the NYPD are going to George Floyd ICE agents every 2-3 days. It'll just be nonstop fentanyl shit posting on social media. Are you sure he didn't just stop breathing on his own?
I am looking forward to having conversations with Mayor Adams and his administration about the work of the transition to ensure that the handover is a seamless one and that it is one that benefits the shared work we all have to deliver for the people who call the City Hall.
Thank you, Andrew.
Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
One is,
Everybody's asking too.
how quickly do you think you can clarify for everyone that you not only intend to keep Jessica commissioner, but that she actually will stay as police commissioner? When will you be able to close the loop? And my second question is, before speaking last night, were you waiting for a concession phone call from Andrew Cuomo, and are you disappointed that you didn't get it?
I've made my...
Vaush referring to someone getting George Floyded after going on a rant about lynching being called lynching yesterday, Lamau. You're right. It really is. It's just how language works, right? I guess it's just the most convenient. It's the path of least resistance to conveying meaning.
Intention clear to retain Commissioner Tisch, and I look forward to having conversations with her on that very subject. Last night, I spent time with my wife, with close members of my team, as we watched the results come in. I spoke briefly with Curtis Sliwa, and then I headed to address the thousands of New Yorkers that were there, waiting to hear of what this new era of government will look like. And that is always my focus. Not on the candidates of this past election, but rather on the people that are so often left behind by our politics, and I look forward to serving.
And Morgan.
Doing well. How are you, Morgan?
Really wish the reporters had mics. I know that's pretty uncommon. Just hard to hear them outside of a closed room.
The mayor is seemingly unsatisfied with a record of raising rents by more than 12% on more than 2 million New Yorkers, and has gone so far as to consider appointing someone to the Rent Guidelines Board who is known for being a star, I think, on a show called Selling New York. And in many ways, that's the description of what he wants to do over these next few months. I continue to believe in the importance of delivering relief for the 8.5 million people who love this city, who live in this city, but cannot afford to continue to be here. And last night I spoke of Wesley and 1199 organizer that I met outside of Elmhurst Hospital less than a week ago. And as I asked him how long it took him to get to work, he told me 2 hours. I asked him, where were you coming from? He told me Pennsylvania.
Do you think if Mamdani is successful enough, Dem presidential candidates would seek his endorsement come 2028? The Democrat Party, as it exists right now, would rather, many people in it would rather lose their elections than align themselves with Mamdani openly and proudly. Because the fact is right now, and we know this, don't we? We know this for a fact. Within his heart, underneath the smile, Mamdani feels tons of contempt towards the Democratic Party. How could he not? He won the Democratic primary, then didn't get an endorsement from either of the Democrat leaders. They've openly worked against him. All of mainstream media, even those aligned with the Democrats, even after he won the Democratic primary. He knows they stand against him and against the American people. Like, it's insane. Has Schumer said anything yet? Not to my knowledge. He's having a bad morning, I hope. But they might change. Maybe.
That, for many New Yorkers, is now the reality, where they have to live elsewhere because they can't afford to live in the place that they love. And that has to be our compass in guiding the work that we do to ensure that we can make this a city that is livable and make this a city that finally turns the page on an era of big money and small ideas.
Yeah, I'll put Holly right here.
I am looking forward to having every member of my coalition being a part of our transition. The transition will be guided by the work that we need to do, and the coalition that brought me to this point has done an immense amount of work and has also been leading in the fight for dignity for working class New Yorkers. Well, first I just have to say I've spent many days in my youth watching the transfer window close, final hours on Sky News, so it's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. I have to be honest, when you said you were from Sky News, I just got very excited. Could you repeat the question one more time? I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis. This is a president who ran a campaign on the promise of cheaper groceries, and now, as was said by one of our co-chairs, has gone so far as to cut SNAP benefits for close to 2 million New Yorkers. Someone who is literally making it harder to afford those same groceries whose price he was decrying not that long ago. And what scares Republicans across the country is the fact that we will actually deliver on this agenda. And the contrast is something that they cannot bear to witness. And I try to keep my focus similar to that cover on the New Yorker where the world ends in New Jersey, and thinking about what this means for our city instead of for our nation. And I will tell you that for our city, what left me with such great hope last night were the stories from so many New Yorkers who had never voted before, who had lost hope in politics years ago. And to stand here before you, having received over 1 million votes in an election that saw turnout the likes of which we haven't seen since 1969, it shows that politics, once again, is offering more than just a settling for the crumbs that are not able to meet the needs of so many families across the city. We are finally offering a vision that can meet the scale of the crisis in working class New Yorkers' lives. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please.
Just barely here.
I Look forward, I'll first answer your first question, then I'll go to your second. I look forward to meeting with Jamie Dimon and meeting with anyone who is concerned about the future of our city and is invested in the vitality of that same city. And these are not very different from the conversations I had over the course of this campaign with many business leaders who, while we may have disagreements on fiscal policy, we also found many areas of agreement as to what the city actually needed. And I think it is critically important that we start to embody a style of leadership that does not demand agreement across every single issue in order to even have a conversation. We need to be able to deliver for New Yorkers, and that means to meet New Yorkers, even those with whom we have any disagreements. So I look forward to having those kinds of meetings, be it with Jamie Dimon or be it with other business leaders, and continuing to show that our affordability agenda is an agenda that would also benefit businesses across the city. Because what I've heard from many of those same business leaders is that the inability for city government and state government to provide universal child care has led to businesses sometimes having to provide stipends to their own employees given the expense of that child care. Makes sense because child care in this city costs an average of $22,500 a year, which is a burden that many families cannot bear. And I also look forward to streamlining the regulations within city government. I'm someone who believes deeply in the public sector, believes deeply in public regulation, and I also believe if I cannot give you an answer as to why a regulation exists, then it likely doesn't have a good reason to exist any longer. And that extends to when...
Oh my God, that's so good to hear. I hate the fact that the abundance grifters have not monopolized, but at the very least like been too loud on this end of the like on this subject. But overregulation is such a problem in America, especially in New York City. I imagine like the older the city in America, the more it's an issue, right? New York City, Boston, Philadelphia. I bet cities like that probably have it the worst. That'd just be my guess on average. It's such a problem.
A restaurant owner told me of the $25 a year he has to pay the city for the right to sell a frozen dessert. And it also extends to the way in which we fine and fee small businesses across the city, which is why we've committed to cutting that in half. And I have not spoken to Jonathan Greenblatt. I take the issue of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously. And last night in my speech, I spoke about how my city hall will stand steadfast with Jewish New Yorkers in fighting the scourge of anti-Semitism across the city and making that clear in the actions that we deliver.
He's such a piece of shit. The ADL has announced in response to Mamdani's win, they're such a Hitlerite organization. I hate them so much. Initiative to track and monitor Mamdani administration policies and appointments to protect Jewish New Yorkers. Haven't done this for any other politician to my knowledge. You know, the Trump campaign packed full of open neo-Nazis. Every week there's another scandal. Heil Hitler-esque chat logs leaked. But for this one specific candidate, oh, we've got our eye on him. ADL should be abolished alongside ICE. Yeah, unfortunately, their reputation's probably going to get whitewashed after Trump's gone. Greenblatt's going to be replaced at some point with somebody who's less like obviously Hitlerite, and they're going to pretend this never happened. NYC anti-Semitism tip line. It's going to be every day, man. Every single press conference Mamdani and his team ever do, they're going to be hounded by the far right. And no, everyone, not even the far right. NBC reporters are going to be laundering far-right talking points through the ADL by asking him to report on every single anti-Semitism tip line delivered anonymously, which complained about something that can't be verified and that Mamdani had nothing to do with. And they're going to blame him for all of it.
Deliver on from January 1st, and I look forward to working with Jewish leaders across this city, whether they be elected officials, whether they be rabbis, whether they be community leaders, to deliver on the promise of not just protecting Jewish New Yorkers, but celebrating and cherishing them in this same city.
Yes, go ahead, Henry.
I think that anyone is free to catalog the actions of our administration. I have some doubts in Jonathan's ability to do so honestly, given that he previously said I had not visited any synagogues, only to have to correct himself.
Hi, Mayor-elect. Obviously, I have two questions as well.
Yes. It's a 2-for-1 day.
Oh, yeah, a little more interesting. So, on President Trump and on delivering real, tangible results, as you alluded to last night with your new era, as Maria Springer just said, how do you balance, or do you give a thought to balancing combating President Trump quiet hours of last night, you got off stage, you went home, maybe you were sitting by yourself, maybe it was just you and your wife. I'm wondering what those sort of thoughts in your head were in those quiet moments after this sort of enormous accomplishment and the weight of what's about to come your way.
It's very funny. Everyone is asking two very different questions. I'm trying to strike the right tone between all of them. New Yorkers are facing twin crises in this moment: an authoritarian administration and an affordability crisis. And it'll be my job to deliver on both. It'll be my job to stand up for the city and also to ensure that we do not look at Washington, D.C. as if it is the reason for all of the problems right here in New York City. Many of the issues we are speaking about, they predate President Trump. They are issues that for too long we have turned a blind eye to, or we have sought to rationalize or normalize. And what I'm so excited by in looking at these incredible women who will be leading our transition is a track record of being able to handle multiple crises at the same time. Crises which so often for others might be the only focus. For so many of the people on this stage, they were one of many. And these are the crises of cost, these are the crises of conviction, these are the crises that have come to describe much of our politics. And I find immense confidence in the fact that we are already building a team that has shown its ability to deliver and that will continue to show that over the next 57 days and beyond. I cannot tell you that I had many quiet moments between last night and this morning, but some things that I have been left with, whether it was in sitting with my wife or with close members of my team without whom none of this would have been possible, is the sense of hope that New Yorkers have. When I left the venue yesterday evening, there were hundreds of New Yorkers waiting outside. And so many of them were young New Yorkers. So many of them, it may have been their first vote they were ever eligible to cast. And in their eyes and in their shouts and in their screams, I heard the potential for what our politics could be. And it's a potential for New Yorkers to not only be able to see themselves in those that lead them, but more importantly, to see their struggles. And just before this, I heard from an immigrant rights advocate who said that the moment that made her whole in the speech that I shared was when I spoke about this city as being one that was built by immigrants, that was powered by immigrants, and now that will be led by an immigrant. I think for too long, many New Yorkers have been told that there are only places in the shadows. And it is incredibly exciting to stand here alongside these leaders to embrace the light that the future will hold for all of us in this city. Yes. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Type shit.
The White House hasn't reached out to congratulate me. I continue to be interested in having a conversation with President Trump on the ways in which we could work together to serve New Yorkers, whether that be delivering on his campaign promises around cost of living, or the many issues that New Yorkers have been sharing with me about the drastic impacts that the legislation that President Trump has ushered through Washington will mean for them and their lives. Too often we understand these impacts solely at an individual level, but if we just speak a little bit more about SNAP benefits, these are not just affecting the close to 2 million New Yorkers who are on SNAP, these also affect the grocery stores across our city. There were a number of mom and pop owned grocery stores that spoke to me about the fact that in the Bronx, SNAP revenues make up more than a quarter of all of their revenue. And this has the impact of decimating their ability to keep their doors open. And so I look forward to having those conversations and to making clear that if
it's so smart what he's doing right now. Yeah, no, it's incredible that he Okay, remember how during the COVID era, Cuomo tried to be like a parallel president? Everyone knew Trump was incompetent and not capable of handling a global pandemic, so Cuomo tried to like do daily press conferences where he would meet the moment. We all know how that turned out, but he was trying to do that. And you can do it, right, as governor of New York or mayor of New York. You know, you have potentially the public attention that you would need. He can do so much to elevate the Democratic Party, and he can do so much to direct attention away from Trump, you know, by smartly connecting the failures of the federal government to problems New Yorkers expose. He both bolsters the chances of the party broadly, not that those fucks deserve it, and he cements himself as an opposition figure, the other main character. People need a main character, you know?
If there is ever anything to be spoken about that could benefit the people of this city, I am ready and willing to speak to anyone about it. But if it is a conversation to come at the expense of those people, then I will fight that idea tooth and nail, because my job is to serve this city.
Thank you. Mayor-elect, you have showcased the willingness to speak directly to Trump, kind of throw energy back at him. My first question is, are you concerned that doing so could kind of incite even more of his focus and anger on the city? As a quick follow-up, you talked about Trump-proofing the city. Could you describe what that would look like in the role you see deputy mayors, members of your administration?
When I speak about Trump-proofing this city, I speak about protecting those with the least from the consequences of a man with the most power in this country. It is in part a reference to the need to ensure that any fight for additional revenue is one that also looks to try and protect those same New Yorkers from these kinds of cuts to the greatest extent that we can. And it's also a commitment to ensure that so many of the storied parts of city government return back to the moments where they were on the front lines of fighting for dignity and civil rights, and I think specifically of our city's law department. This is a law department that, when you think of the seminal civil rights cases of this country, they were there. And yet today it has 200 fewer lawyers than it did before COVID. This is an example of a lack of interest from an administration in ensuring that we are investing in the tools that have been proven to protect those same New Yorkers. And I will not mince my words when it comes to President Trump. I will continue to describe his actions as they are, and I will also always do so while leaving a door open to have that conversation, because it cannot be understood as if it is an argument between two individuals. I am looking to lead this entire city, and everything that I do must be to the benefit of this city, and I look forward to delivering for that same city.
Yeah, right here.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going on, Chris?
So I'm here with last night. A lot of critics went to our comment section and social media news saying, talk to the Mamdani supporters for 6 months, see how they feel, talk to them for a year, see how bad it's getting there. Do you have any comments on how those folks are reacting and how you can...
Well, first I'd say we've come a long way since that conversation in Astoria Park, and it's lovely to see you here. You know, I think there were many who said similar things when we launched our campaign on October 23rd. Talk to the campaign in 6 months, talk to the campaign in a year, see where they are. And what we've shown is that the hunger, the dedication, the commitment to excellence and delivering in the ways in which we have been told are impossible, this is what will typify our efforts. It has thus far. This is what will describe them moving forward. And
hopefully the Israel support will be totally dead by the time his next election comes around. Dude, the fact that the bipartisan, everyone in media, everyone in politics, inflaming the anti-Semitism accusations in New York City, the most Jewish city in the world, and it still didn't work, it's dead. The Israel line is dead. Nobody likes Israel. Democrats don't like Israel. Republicans don't like Israel. There are too many young neo-Nazis in the Republican Party who will get mad at you as a Republican politician. If you're Greg Abbott or J.D. Vance or whoever the f*** else, and you say something tepidly pro-Israel, your comments fill up with groypers talking about how you're cucked in America last. Nobody likes Israel. Nobody should like Israel, you know? Good reasons or bad reasons. That's it. This was their last gasp. Remember, just a few years ago, the AIPAC, Democrat, Republican, mainstream media, Mossad coalition was crushing speech around the entire country. After October 7th, they were crushing student encampments. They were going after your livelihoods. They were getting people fired everywhere. It's been only a few short years, and now everyone agrees. The truth, the divine truth given to us in dreams and by the heavenly light, which is that Israel is a Hitlerite country that shouldn't exist. And everyone believes this now. So now they have consolidated. Well, maybe we can't cuck all of America. Maybe we can cuck New York City specifically. It's the most Jewish city in America, after all. But no, they couldn't. Uncucked, even in New York City. They tried as hard as they could in the city where you would think it would have the greatest effect. And it didn't work. It's done. And yes, that tepid, minimal support that Israel still enjoys will crater even further with each passing year, because it's an unlikable country. No one is being converted from the anti-Israel cause to the Israel cause, and tons of people are shifting the other way. I think Israel can exist and just not be genocidal. Israelis don't even think Israel can exist without being genocidal. I'd say let them settle that one, you know? They're the ones who keep pitching it to me like that. That the only version of Israel they want to exist is a genocidal ethno-state. Like, man, if you insist...
The passion, as Maria had said, of an undimmed potential for government to meet the needs of working people across this city, that is something that we fully intend to deliver on. These were not words that were shared as a means by which to inspire people for the purpose of an election. These were commitments that were made that we intend to deliver on to ensure that New Yorkers can live in the city they call home.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor-elect. How do you respond?
I'm sorry, could you come a little closer or speak a little louder?
How do you respond to the reports that hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers could leave the city now that you've been elected? And secondly, I'm just curious, when you got the news and called the race for you last night, how did you celebrate? What did you do? What was the first thing you ate? How did you celebrate at home?
I think the first thing I did was drink some water, and it took a moment for it to settle in. And when it did, oftentimes this job is described with the language of burden, responsibility, pressure. And those things are true. But what is lost is opportunity. And that is really what I felt in that moment when this race was called. The opportunity we have to deliver for people who have come to expect so little from the politics of their city. And that is an opportunity that is at the heart of what motivates me each and every day. And I look forward to fulfilling the trust that was put in me by the more than 1 million New Yorkers who voted for our campaign, and also by New Yorkers who've had concerns or skepticism. I don't begrudge them, because they were subject to tens of millions of dollars in attack ads that told them the thing that should keep them up at night was me, when in fact what I've heard from New Yorkers, that the thing that keeps them up at night is the cost of rent, of groceries, of childcare. And so I look forward to earning their trust as well, because my vision of success is not that those who are skeptical leave this city, it's that those who are skeptical stay here in this city, and that we build a city that has room for even more to join us. Because this is a city that has to grow, this is a city that has to thrive, and the way that we will do so is by bringing excellence back into City Hall, where it becomes the expectation, not the exception. Oh, incredible.
Talk about the fact that you want to just meet expectations, you want to exceed them. What are you focusing on after tonight? Your first step in office being day one?
My first day in City Hall will look like my last day. It will be focused on the cost of living crisis. It will be focused on delivering for the New Yorkers who have been priced out of this city. 1 in 4 New Yorkers currently living in poverty across the 5 boroughs. And what excites me so much about being on this stage alongside these incredible leaders is that this is not a job that can be done alone. This is not a job that can be done by one person with one vision. It is a job that must be done by a team that is united in purpose.
I'm worried for his safety. Honestly, I'm not crazy worried for his safety, because the people who are most likely to be targeted for stochastic terroristic violence are usually people who have a lot of, like, nested conspiracies about them. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Paul Pelosi thing a little bit. Like, when we see a pattern of irrational behavior across assassins or would-be assassins, which makes sense because you have to be pretty crazy to throw your life away on something like that. But people often think like, you know, oh, the people most likely to get assassinated are like the people who like would be most effective to assassinate them. And I think no, it's usually people who have like the biggest schizo orbit, you know? It's not the 1960s anymore where you have like spies and spooks everywhere who are, you know, conducting clandestine operations in Colombia or whatever. You get people being killed by like assassins with blowguns or whatever the I think for the most part now everyone's just kind of like sitting at their desk, and every once in a while a guy is crazy and he just, you know, tries it, right? Even Luigi Mangione, allegedly, you know, like we're not really talking about, you know, principled warriors for a given ideology. JFK wasn't assassinated by a principled warrior for anything, you know? Frankly, neither was Lincoln, you know? Usually these people are just kind of crazy. It's just crazy. What's a spook? It's an American word for a spy. I think it's a slur in the UK, but it's not here. I do hear that, though.
In fulfilling the agenda that we ran on, an agenda of affordability. And for too long, we have heard from politicians who have told us what they can't do, when in reality,
it's a slur here too. No, it's not. I've heard the word spook used in reference to like CIA agents many times. I don't think it's used as a slur here. Or if it is, maybe like I've never heard it used that way. I've never once heard it used that way.
What they mean to say is what they won't do.
Maybe it was a slur.
I'm excited to prove that making people's lives better is not simply an ideal. It is something that we can fulfill in the day-to-day work of our administration. Thank you very much, Ethan.
Governor Hochul has had a good working relationship with Trump, and he's been very I guess it's been some time. Do you think there's anything to learn from her style that talk to her about?
I think the governor has set a very good example for what it can look like to both keep a door open to speak with anyone about anything that could serve the interests of the people of this state, while also refusing to sacrifice those same people for the purpose of maintaining a relationship. And that is exactly the approach that I will take, is when President Trump wants to do something that will benefit this city, I will be there to say as much. But if he is looking to persecute or prosecute or punish the people of this city by virtue of who they are or where they live or where they came from, then I will fight him on that.
Realistically, how much is Hochul letting happen? She's been agreeable to a number of things, including his universal childcare policy, which is by far the most expensive thing that he's advocated for. Like, nothing that he's advocated for is more expensive than that by like an order of magnitude. So if she's on board with that, something that can only be achieved by raising taxes, you know? Look, at the end of the day, it's good. And she does need his popularity, yeah. She's at risk of being replaced otherwise.
I think too often we have had a style of leadership that seeks to put oneself before the people that you're looking to serve, and my city hall will do the opposite.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. You know, this is a group that exemplifies the excellence I've long spoken about. It is an excellence that New Yorkers have seen across multiple mayoral administrations. It is an excellence that they have seen at the federal level, and it's an excellence that has been displayed amidst a conviction of what government can and should and must do for New Yorkers. And I'm excited by the prospect of them leading this transition to deliver for those same New Yorkers. And I also am clear with the more than 100,000 volunteers who brought me to this point, with the more than 1 million New Yorkers who voted for our campaign, that the work does not end with an election. In fact, it continues until we deliver this agenda. And that delivery will be something that we do over weeks and months and years. And it will be something that we will take immensely seriously, because it is a delivery that will fulfill the hope that so many have put in us. Could we do the first one? I'll answer, then we go to the second. Perfect. Yes. TV5.com. And, you know, there were a few months ago where I told supporters across the city to stop donating. And today I am asking them to start once again. And I am asking them to do so because of the fact that a transition that can meet the moment of preparing for January 1st is one that will require staff, it will require research, it will require infrastructure. And those are things that we will have to provide. And I'm excited for the fact that it will be funded by the very people who brought us to this point, the working people who have been left behind by the politics of the city.
I'm so prepared to turn this channel into a 24/7 Mamdani Stan channel. We're going to have to defend him against so many people. Against the Republicans, the mainstream Democrats, against the loser leftists who will complain the nanosecond he does anything pragmatic or compromises in any way. You know, he's going to get attacks from every angle, but he's going to be loved within New York City.
I did get a text from my super late this night.
You mess with Zoran of us, you mess with all of
us.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have been told time and time again, and I've embraced it, to not measure the drapes. And here I am the day after being asked to use a ruler. And I will tell you that my focus right now is on the transition team. I will speak with my wife. I will think about this further, but when I have something to share, it will be done so publicly. Andrew Cuomo did it.
Okay. Two questions again. The first one has
Does this mean we're returned to debate? You people are insufferable. A light a God ray is poured in through the clouds. Are we gonna do debate? Are we gonna debate the loser leftists? Buddy, future of the country's on the line right now, okay?
the mayor or anyone invited you to City Hall? Do you have plans to go to City Hall to meet with you?
The mayor has not invited me as yet to go to City Hall, but I look forward to having those conversations about the transition.
Apparently Cuomo and Adams both did not call him for congratulations, but Sliwa did.
In the last 4 years, we've heard a lot about Brooklyn. They've got the leaders in the House and Senate, the mayor.
Can we get a Zoran emote? A Zoran emote signifying what?
We spoke about this a little bit standing here. Like, is this borough on top?
You know, I don't see it as a question of which borough is on top. I am looking to serve every single one of the 5 boroughs. And
Smiling?
in each of these boroughs, I find so much of the inspiration of the work that we have to do in City Hall. And I'm also proud to represent Queens in the state legislature. I'm proud to be a resident and a assembly member for Astoria and for Long Island City. And I'm proud that we are standing here today in the world's borough to embrace what gives so much meaning as to what it means to be a New Yorker here in this moment today. This guy's trying to get me to go against other boroughs.
Unbelievable.
Where's the suit?
A little more cash.
To see you.
Congratulations to you as well. Billionaire Bill Ackman sent out an unusually short tweet yesterday in which he congratulated you. And he said, if I can help NYC, just let me know what I can do. I'm wondering how you respond to communications on the new plan.
Klein Gang, what in the ever-living is this emote supposed to represent? Fake fan. Wasn't even around 6 years ago.
Well, I appreciated Bill Ackman's tweet and the sentiment of it, and I will continue to have conversations with anyone who is committed to the welfare of this city, the vitality of this city, and those are the conversations I will have over the next 57 days and beyond.
What do you think today your victory means for the cause of democratic socialism?
I can tell you what it means in this city. It means that the idea of a politics built around the delivery of dignity to each and every person who calls the city home, that politics is alive and well. And for too long, we have spent our time debating who deserves that dignity, as opposed to delivering it to each and every person who calls the city home.
David.
Yeah, what specifically do you want to continue with the Eric Adams administration in terms of progress, or did you anticipate getting involved in the speaker race?
Can you I didn't hear the
Do you
second.
anticipate getting involved in the speaker race?
You know, even amidst my many critiques that I have of the Adams administration, we have to have a sober analysis of the work that is done in any single administration. And I think that City of Yes is something that is a significant and good step forward. I think that trash containerization is another example of something that we should continue to pursue. And these are examples to me of some of the issues which have been long recognized by New Yorkers as ones that need to be contended with by government and ones that have simply been ignored. And I look forward to continuing on those issues and then correcting the course in many another areas of city government.
I demand
and
RV parking in NYC.
To working
Fuck
with
you.
the council and with the next speaker on delivering on an agenda of affordability for each and every person that calls the city home.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all.
Oh my God, that was the full presser. Was it?
The lesson.
I think it was. I thought it feels like it kind of cut off there, but that was where the Bloomberg TV feed cut out. Huh. I'm so invested in this shit, man. I'm so goddamn invested. I know it's a lot of like boring wonkery for you guys, but I'm so interested in seeing that it's that magical moment. What did he say when poetry becomes prose? When you go from the campaign to the actual leadership position, it's so difficult to stick that landing. And it's not that I don't trust him, I do. But this stuff is really important for future campaigns to model, you know? Man.